Good morning, everyone. Today is the 10th of November, 2025. I have a special request this morning, an announcement. First of all, I'm still having major problems with this computer. It's the only computer I have. I have 4 laptops, and this is the only laptop that Facebook will allow me to access this channel and live stream on it. They have a glitch. They have an old cell phone number that authenticated this channel, and they don't give me an option, for going in. And if anybody has any suggestions, I'm not technology savvy. I think I'm going to have to create a mobile app on my new cell phone and try to correct it, but I don't want to mess this channel up. And I don't really like to use my cell phones to authenticate anything. It seems like every time I do that, I end up getting messed up, because if the cell phone goes dead, then I have no any other options. The other announcement I have is that many of you know my son Mark has been struggling with this brain degenerative disease since he was 16 years old, and it seems to be getting progressively worse. I hate to have to say that, but it seems like it's not getting any better. Mark will be 50 in March, and so that in March we will have been dealing with this for 34 years. And God has sustained us those 34 years in dealing with the situation, and I must say it has not been easy. Yesterday, Mark had a situation where sometimes he gets mixed up. It's almost like he has dementia when his mind goes bad on him. After the surface up in Joplin yesterday, Mark became very disoriented. He went outside and he started taking off, walking throughout the neighborhood around Michael's house, and we had to go try to get him back, and he didn't want to come back, and so it's not an easy thing. Rosette was kind of, sometimes it's better to laugh than cry, but Rosette said the other day, I guess God has ordained the latter part of my life that I'm a full-time babysitter. But we need your prayers. I believe in the prayers of God's people. Many times we've asked for healing for Mark, and God has chosen not to heal him, not to restore his brain back the way it was before this all started when he was 16 years old. The nature of his illness is he has an overproduction of dopamine in his brain, and his brain will fill up, the receptor cells of his brain will fill up and it will dump, and it causes the brain to become cognitively confused, disorientation. And it's not an easy thing to deal with. If you've ever had to deal with someone with this condition, I'll tell you it's not an easy thing to have to deal with. I still try to get Mark to read scriptures every day. I try to keep him focused. Just to give you an idea what we go through, from the time Mark gets up till the time he goes to bed, he constantly scribbles on a piece of paper. And if you were to look at his writings on his papers, they would mean nothing to you, but they mean something to him. He goes through easily 300 pages every month of writing. And, I don't know how he can keep his hand going, but anyway, remember us in your prayers, and In the book of Philippians, the 2nd chapter, this has been a great comfort to me over the years. I want to read it to you. Paul was talking about a fellow brother in Christ, and I'm going to try to pronounce his name. It's not easy to pronounce. Epaphroditus. Epaphroditus. He was getting ready to go visit some of his brethren, and he said, I hope to come to you shortly, yet I suppose it necessary to send to you Epaphroditus, my brother and companion in the Lord and fellow soldier, but your messenger, and he that ministered to my wants. This Epaphroditus had been very close to Paul and had taken care of him. And he says he longed after you all and was full of eagerness because that you had heard that he had been sick. He had been sick. For indeed he was sick nigh unto death. But God had mercy on him, and not only on him, but on me, lest I should have sorrow upon sorrow. Well, that's kind of what I'm experiencing when I see Mark struggling with his mind, and he's not thinking right. You know, some of the things that comes out of his mouth, I know that his brain's not working right? Have you ever been around someone with Alzheimer's? It's very similar to that. But Mark's only 49 years old. I don't know what the future holds for Mark, but according to the doctors, if they know what they're talking about, which I don't put a lot of faith in doctors, but they said the nature of his illness is it will progress to the point that it will not get better, it will get worse. Well, I don't want to hear that. I don't like to be the bearer of bad news, but I'm also into reality. And so anyway, I wanted to let you all know that I posted a new link to this Facebook channel. If I lose this channel, I feel like I will have lost a lot of friends. 5,000 friends. I'm going to miss you all if I'm unable to broadcast much more on this channel. But the new link is my new channel, but they're saying it takes 60 days before I'm approved to live stream on that channel. So it's all about control, I guess. But anyway, God's in control ultimately over all things, including Facebook, including the issues with my son. I just had a very dear friend of mine, Elsbeth Orr, passed away. And I talked to her a week or so ago on the phone. She ultimately was, I think she was in the hospital at that time, and then they took her over to hospice. But anyway, she said on the phone, well, it's all ordained by God. She understood the sovereignty of God. It's all ordained. Everything that we go through is ordained by God, you know. And it was ordained that Paul had to go through a lot of things, including the situation with Epaphroditus, you know. Epaphroditus had been close and ministered to Paul's needs, and then all of a sudden he becomes really sick. He couldn't minister to anybody then, could he? You know, unless Christ comes back, none of us are getting out of this life alive. We're all down here just biding our time until we're taken out. And sometimes we need to be reminded of that, don't we? This life is very temporary. I was thinking the other day of all the people that have passed away that I have known. And it's a number well over 300 people, you know, that have passed away that I have known. 300 people. So none of us are getting out of this alive. It's appointed unto man once to die, right? And Solomon said, vanity, vanity, all is vanity. You know, people put a lot of emphasis on the comforts of home, and they want the latest gadgets, they want the latest technology, they want the latest inventions out there. I was talking to a fellow the other day. I was standing in line at the bank, and I struck up a conversation. Just so happens this guy was also a fellow social worker. You know, I used to be in social work, and we had a lot in common to talk about. And you know, he said, you know, Larry, growing up as kids at 12 years old, back in our day, he said, we used to pretty much know what was going on in the world. There wasn't anything new under the sun. It was, you know, we knew about geography, we knew about mathematics, we knew about different things that were going on. But he said, now, he said, we can't keep up. Everything's changing so rapidly with all this technology and AI and everything. He was told me about a lady that was wanting to get a settlement processed on an insurance claim, and she called the claims office, and they said, well, we got to give you a code, and then you got to call the claims department. So they gave her a code, and she called the claims department, and she gave the code, and this voice comes on, says, are you AI? And there was an answer, yes, this is our AI code. They said, well, this is AI. I'm talking to you, which is AI. This should be processed much more quickly. And she heard all kind of beeps and electric impulses and all kind of beeping and everything. And about 20 seconds later says, AI processes AI. Claim has been processed and completed. I've often kidded around that when AI starts talking to AI, you know we've got problems. Anyway, I hope you all have a blessed day today, and I ask that your special prayers would go out for Mark and Rosette and myself and the situation that we're having to deal with right now with our son. God bless.